Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. This is No Soundbites Allowed, and I am your host, Michael Voss, Dragon of the Southern Tier, and I'm happy to be here with you today. We're going to be talking just briefly. There's breaking news that's going on right now. In Lancaster, PA, on Sunday, there was a shooting, an officer-involved shooting. And there's a lot of, there's been protests about this already. And there's been a lot of news out there. And quite interestingly, the news is showing this in a very specific light. Because the news media is highlighting that it's an officer who shot a gentleman, happened to be a Hispanic man. That's where most of the headlines stop. Now, if you're looking at the headlines correctly and looking beyond just the headlines, it's in fact what happened as we understand it at this moment, and I do have video, I will be showing it, is that a Ricardo Munoz attacked an officer with a knife and he was shot. And that did result in his death. But that's the facts that we know for sure. And based on officer shot Hispanic man, we've seen Lancaster, PA go up and having riots. It's actually quite a violent display right now. Okay. If you're looking, if you go to Twitter and you just look up what's going on, you'll see bottles being thrown, bricks being thrown. You'll see that these are individuals. They're trying to break into a police station. There's other video that'll show that there was damage done to various post office. Some private vehicles had bricks and rocks thrown at them and damaged them. So why are we seeing this? I mean, protests are happening everywhere. On Saturday, I was doing a live stream on Facebook of a protest that happened. What is causing this? Why are people livid in Lancaster at this time? Why are they rioting? Because Black Lives Matters is always rioting. They're just looking for an opportunity to try and destabilize the police. I truly, truly believe that. And we've seen something like this once before. In fact, we saw it with the Hakim Littleton shooting. A lot of people may not remember that. I'll show you exactly what that was. There it is. So this is the slow motion, and you can go to the July 13th video. We did a video. It's Detroit Hakim Littleton shooting. People are being used. And this is it. This is the actual shooting from body cam of that shooting.
Watch this in slow motion. That is a gun in his hand. That was a police officer.
Okay. So that was the Hakim Littleton shooting. And that was on July 13th. And that shooting, which was reported as a police officer involved shooting of a black man, led to riots in Detroit. And then once the police video cam came out, BLM and the far left fringe continued to riot even after it was shown that Hakim Littleton, at point blank range, tried to kill a police officer. Because the rumor was that he was unarmed. And this was unjustified. And the emotion that's going on in this nation right now, where police are being constantly attacked and said that they're basically being equated as evil, that's only gotten worse. But just like in the case with Hakim Littleton, we need to stop and actually pay attention to what really did happen. Now, what I'm going to show you in just a second is the video of the actual event. It takes about 4 seconds. I'm going to show you a little bit more than just 4 seconds. I'm going to show you exactly what happened on the body cam so that you can see what's going on and what they are rioting in Lancaster about. So let's go right to the video. This is from the body cam unedited video.
Where'd he go? Get back, get back.
Seemed a little fast. Hang on. That is a knife. That is Ricardo Munoz charging and attacking an officer. And then we have one other image. And that is the knife on the ground. Now, this video was released on September 13th by the Lancaster City Police Department, according to Pennsylvania Code, I believe it's Code 22. I forget the exact code. So it's legal to show you that. I want to be clear here. It's a sad thing that someone had to die. It was sad for Hakim Littleton. It's sad for Ricardo Munoz. But the thing that's very similar in both of these cases, and we see this in many cases, like Rashard Brooks and many others across the nation, they attacked. This was an attack. Even with Jacob Blake, he got into a fight. He was armed. Now, you can say, should he have shot as many times as he did? Whether that's with Hakim Littleton, whether that's with Ricardo Munoz, whether any of these cases. Should, even Jacob Blake, should there have been as many shots? Maybe, maybe not. There was, and I want to be very clear about this, in this video that we see, there was 4 seconds. 4 seconds between him, the officer, being at the door and being charged with a knife. Okay. This is 2 minutes, 9 seconds into the video. Again, let me go back even further. Let me make sure. This is at the door. So counting it down.
Get back, get back.
All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 seconds. 4 seconds. Now, for all the people who are saying we need to defund the police, imagine that there is a social worker who just walked up to that door, and in 4 seconds, that social worker, who is unarmed, has to deal with this gentleman rushing out of a house with a knife. Let me give you some background. Why was he doing this? The reason why the police officer was there is because there was a domestic disturbance. And so police were called. Several police were en route. This was the first officer to get on the scene. They had no idea what was actually happening. The man is armed with a knife. He comes directly at them. What would you do in 4 seconds as a social worker who is unarmed? This officer used deadly force. He was being charged. He was going to be attacked out of the blue. And this is what Black Lives Matters, this is what plot, this is what the far fringe left is saying they need to destroy a city for. This is what they need to destroy buildings and property. They have to keep people up at night. This is what that's all about. Is a man who is having a domestic disturbance, armed, rushes out of a doorway and attacks a police officer. Just like what we saw with Hakim Littleton. Just like what we saw with Hakim Littleton. And I want to be very clear about that. This is a man who pulled a gun on a police officer point blank range and tried to shoot him in the head. And Detroit went into riots for that. We need to calm down, folks. We need to really slow down and think, what are we actually protesting? What are we really trying to say? Who are the heroes that we see being lifted up? Jacob Blake was a rapist, and he had caused a disturbance. Police were called out on him. He resisted. He wound up getting shot. We see Hakim Littleton, who was not involved in the police arresting another individual, pulls out a gun, tries to shoot a police officer at point-blank range for no reason. We have what happened here in Lancaster. Police were called to a domestic disturbance, and the man rushes out with a knife and is trying to attack a police officer. What are we really protesting here? What is really the purpose? Why? And these are the same people who say, well, we have to get rid of the police. They want to disband the police. That's what they want to do. With defunding the police, they want less police officers to handle these kind of violent individuals. Now, I'm not going to tell you that this was justified. You can make your own mind up watching the video. But I have to tell you, I have a problem with saying the only response to seeing that video, to understanding what happened in that situation, the only response is, let's destroy a city. You know, in Minneapolis, it cost $55 million, the amount of damage that was done. In, what was it? Not Hazleton. There's $50 million in the one in Wisconsin, and I just can't remember it right this second, with Jacob Blake. Who knows how much money it was in Detroit? How much money is it going to cost in Lancaster? Really, let's just think about these things. We're destroying cities and neighborhoods and the trust of the community, both with the police officers and with each other. And we're doing that for what? For individuals who are being aggressive? I mean, I'm not saying you can't protest. Protest all you want. But what are you protesting about? It's one thing to say, hey, this person was shot and they were unarmed and there was no call for it. It's one thing to say this person was shot maybe too many times. Okay, those are different things. But to say that someone who's actively an aggressor with a weapon, a deadly weapon, that has deadly intent, you know, is that really worth destroying a city over? Is that really what we want to defund the police over? Is that really what BLM wants? We're being hyped up and emotions are far too high right now. People need to stop and think for a second and really evaluate, why are we doing this? And who's benefiting from all this emotion? Who's benefiting from all these cities? Austin, Colorado, Portland, Seattle, now here in Lancaster, Rochester. Who's benefiting from all this destruction, from all this division in our nation? I mean, it's a very important question. I think it needs to be asked. But I do see a lot of similarities between Detroit and what happened with Hakim Littleton and what we're seeing right now with Ricardo Munoz. I think people are overreacting. I think they're enraptured with this idea of protests and just being part of a mob and that mob emotion. And I think we need to stop that. I think we need to slow down. I think we really need to evaluate what's happening in this nation and who is benefiting. But you may disagree. You may think there's something else to be said here. And I look forward to hearing you. Leave your comments, and we'll talk more about, hopefully, other things very soon. Thank you.